Welcome. My name's Jacob Burlingame of Freedom for Life Project. I just got back from a run and was inspired to make a quick video here about taxation. I don't expect this to be real in-depth. It's more of just a rant, just thinking about it. The theft of my labor. Really get you going. It's also because my mom and I are working on a podcast episode, the next podcast episode, Money in the Federal Reserve. Expect to see that out probably next Monday or Tuesday. We're going to be recording that on Saturday. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be a great episode. Really diving into money, what money is, the Federal Reserve, central banking, fun stuff. I know it's everyone's favorite subject to dive into. One of those things people don't like to look at, yet it controls such a large part of our lives. Things are interesting in that way, but taxation. All right, so one of the first gripes is obviously it's not consensual. And this is kind of funny that because we live in a world very obsessed with consent, which is obvious because consent is, a consensual transaction is a moral transaction. And so the idea that such a core foundation of our living within this system revolves around an act that is not consensual. It is compulsory. It is done under duress. You are required to pay your taxes, or you will have violence inflicted upon you. You will be thrown in a cage, or you will be murdered. And there are plenty of order followers in the world that will happily do that. So, it's not consensual. Big problem. The other part of it is the indication that it is a claim of ownership over your body. Because to claim ownership over a part of the result of somebody's labor, someone makes a product, somebody does something with their time, to say that you deserve a part of that without having anything to do with what that person was working on or the energy that person was putting into it, you are then indicating that you are an owner of their body. You are saying, I own your body, so I own all, if not a part, of the result of your labor. That is to be a slave. Those are the two parts of it. And I'd say because taxation is demanding, well, you owe me that part of the result of your labor, that indicates that you are also claiming that you own and control my body, which is why you think that you deserve what my body produces. When in reality, what my body produces is of mine and who I share it with alone, consensually share it with alone. So those are the first two big things. Is you got the problem of slavery, and you got the problem that it's not consensual. And obviously most of the time slavery is non-consensual unless you got a real whipped up well slave. So no option, duress or violence. And so if I had to give an example, we don't get a list. We don't get a list of it's like, first off, the opt-in where, the IRS doesn't send you the letter and say, hey, do you want to opt in to taxation? Why do they do that? Because they know a lot of people would say no. A lot of people would say, no, I'm not going to just blindly give you my money. I'm not going to give you a blank check. It's not blank in terms of the quantity, but it's blank in that you have no idea what they're going to do with it, which is the other part. We don't receive a list saying, okay, so you do opt into taxation. Well, what do you want your taxes to go for? If you care about roads, don't worry, I'll get to roads. You care about roads, so you want your tax money to go to roads, or you want your tax money to go to this or that and that, and you know where your tax money is going. No, we don't. We don't know where our tax money goes. Most of the time, it goes to very evil things. It goes to not the interests of ourselves and our communities. It goes to the interests of corporations, banks, and governments. That's where once you hand that money over, it's no longer being spent in your interest. It is being spent in their interest. We need to understand that. And all right, so the whole thing of this is going to kind of lead into like the whole road thing, of what about the roads? We need roads, blah, blah, blah. So it's just because something is required to be done, something needs to be done, does not make it moral or justified to then have taxation. So let me I call this my gutter example. I think it's a pretty good example. And that is, I'm walking down the road, and at the end of the block, I see an old man's house, and the old man's gutters really need to be cleaned. They need to be cleaned. And rather than going up to the old man and saying, hey, either offering to clean the gutters for free or saying to him, hey, I'll clean your gutters for this amount. Rather than do any of that, I just show up one day when he's not home and clean the gutters. So something did need to be done, and I did it without asking for consent, without communicating with him at all. So then I wait around, and when the old man comes home, I walk up to him and say, well, I just cleaned your gutters, old man, so that'll be $2,000. And the old man looks at you and he says, well, I didn't ask you to clean the gutters, and even if I would pay you for doing the gutters even without asking me, I'm sure as hell not paying you $2,000 to clean the gutters. I mean, this is a small rectangular house. I mean, come on, I could have my grandson do that in a weekend for free. I'm not paying you $2,000 for doing that. And then rather than walking away and understanding that, yeah, you're right, that was wrong, I should have asked you first, I then pull a Glock out, stick it in his ribs, and say, old man, pay me this money or I will blow you away. That is the duress and violence. And if you think that that's being hyperbolic, that is the taxation system. It is not more complicated than that. It is, you will pay and you will be thrown in a cage or have violence inflicted upon you if you don't. It's as simple as that. It is not more complicated than that. You can try to obfuscate it, but no, it is that simple. It really is. And even in that, I like that example because even though the gutters did need to be cleaned, it was still wrong. And it highlights how even if something needs to be done, it is still wrong to forcibly make somebody do that, to inflict violence upon them, or more importantly, duress, the implied violence, because we live in a duress state where everything is done under the promise of violence. If you do not participate with this, there will be repercussions. So that's the gutter example. And it also comes out of the idea that people really think that, so the roads, all right? You really think people, first off, the idea that you are using, if I need smooth roads to drive on, so therefore having a massive cabal monopoly of violence, harming all the other humans around me, that is justified so that I can have good roads to drive on, so that I can drive to work, to then pay for the apartment that I'm never at because I'm working all the time, which is why I need my car to drive to work, but I'm working all the time, so I never get to use my car to drive anywhere else. That money cycle we all find ourselves in, where we require money simply to live. All right, that was a tangent. But anyway, people will pay for what they require. So first off, corporations or businesses, you don't think these billion-dollar car industries are going to be interested in there being roads because if the roads disappear, you think people are buying cars? You think if you care about something, you will. And again, I'm speaking in terms of spending, but also just energy. Like, if you really want that road done, get out there and do it with the other people around you that also live on that road and care about that road being done. But I understand. People aren't at that awareness of consciousness because, again, even if you did get a crew together, you got a crew of capable people. A lot of them know how to make a road. They might even work for the government and make roads, and they know how to do that job. Even if you got all the materials together, you got all the people together, and you were just like, screw it, we're going to pave this road, we're going to fix this road up, we're going to grain it down and redo it. Yeah, see what the government thinks about that, of you trying to freely do work like that, or not even freely, but trying to work on something that the government's claiming a monopoly over. And that's another part of it, is the government is a monopoly over things such as roads, which is why they usually take forever to get done, and they're way more expensive than they need to be, because monopolies tend to be like that, which is why in the gutter, you can charge whatever you want because you've already done the job. You have a monopoly over the job. Charge whatever you want because it's essentially a blank check of the taxpayer dollar, because again, you're not getting that list that is telling you, yeah, this much money is going to be spent to repair this much road. You have no idea where the tax money goes, which let's be perfectly clear. Where does the tax money goes? I don't know. Large corporate subsidies. I don't know. Bailing out banks and private central banks. I don't know. massive wars and genocides, just to name a few. I have a feeling that most of our money goes to those projects rather than infrastructure. I mean, come on, wake up and look at the road you're driving on. So the road thing is crazy. I hear it all the time, and a lot of that stems out of this idea of a social contract. Like, I don't know what social contract you signed. I didn't. All I know is I was birthed, I was labeled, I was tagged, and I was a part of the system. I don't remember explicitly consenting to any social contract in which I have violence afflicted upon me, and that I am immoral if I choose to not want to do that, which is really where we're at. That is how screwed up our state of consciousness is, that we would say to an individual, you are immoral if you do not want to pay taxes. You don't want to give the government money so they can go bomb and kill people. That is immoral, bro. You're breaking the law, and legality. People associate legality with morality, and morality and legality are not at all the same thing. So you are not an immoral person if you want to omit out of state violence of taxation. It's crazy. It's crazy. And, through that duress and that violence, people are, so like for me, as the plant-based, I'm a plant-based eater. I'm a vegan. I eat vegetables. So now all of a sudden I have to be forced to pay taxes, and you don't think a lot of those taxes are going to massive agriculture subsidies of industrial farming of animals? You think I'm happy about that? You think the pacifist is happy to have duress and violence inflicted upon him, where then his money that is taken as a result of that, of caving into that, is then shipped off to kill people? You think the pacifist is happy about that? So taxation allows... because money is just energy. So taxation is the taking of your energy and then putting it towards something that you would not put your energy towards. And it's evil and it's deceptive. And we need to stop it. All right. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to rant about money today. The last one is just, thinking about taxation and more than just the actual taxation, which is completely even out of, that's the thing in today's world. For most people, you don't even have the option to pay taxes, if you don't want to pay. And then see how quickly the government's up your ass. See how quickly the government responds to you not paying taxes versus an individual robbing, murdering, or harming another individual. See how much they care about that crime versus the crime of not wanting to pay taxes or robbing a bank or stealing from the government. See how quickly the government reacts to that versus if you steal, rob, or murder, another private fellow. A real mess that is. And the other thing with taxation is, think about it like this. Think about it as, you cannot give to another individual what you don't have. You cannot take taxation onto yourself. So say, well, do I feel that I would have the moral right to go around, point a gun at somebody and say, hey, give me the $100 in your pocket, and then walk away with it? We would all say that's wrong. That's immoral. That's theft. That's what we would say. Now, even in that situation, if you pointed a gun at somebody, said, give me the $100 in your pocket, and then you later returned with $100 of potatoes, would that still not be immoral? It's crazy. It's crazy. But I wanted to just talk briefly about the hidden tax of things like inflation. Inflation is a massive hidden tax where the government doesn't even need to actually take the money from you, which is typically noticed more. You instead just create money out of nothing and then take from the purchasing power of all of us, which is why people just speak about this natural reduction in the purchasing, oh, that's just a natural thing. It's just natural that your $20 bill from 40, 50 years ago, it's just worth way less. That's just a natural process. No, there are control mechanisms in place that are the causal agent of that. And I'm not going to that's going to be for the podcast episode that we'll be talking about. But I think I talked about everything. I ranted. Taxation, forcing somebody to give you something, that is theft. That is immoral. That is wrong. And you can spin up endless justifications. You can go in endless loops about it, but not wanting to pay taxes is not immoral. In fact, I respect the person who goes out of their way not to pay taxes. I respect the hell out of you if you are actually successfully doing that, because you got some balls. Because again, I mean, mess with the IRS and the government and this type of thing, and see how quickly the government cares and will respond to that. That terrible agency of the IRS going around and harassing people so much to the point where there is a massive list of people that typically will just off themselves, because dealing with these state agents, dealing with the IRS, and this relentless order following hounds that are released upon you and think they have the moral obligation to go fetch their master's coin from you. It's crazy, it's ridiculous, and we need to start being more conscious about it and stop participating in it. That's all. Enjoy the rest of your day.